All right, well, I finished Carrie last week. Wanted to give it some time before reviewing it as I had some conflicting thoughts about it. I've had some time to go over my notes and kind of get my thoughts in order, about what I actually thought about it. So without further ado, here's my review of Carrie by Stephen King. To start off, I want to go over my reading experience. I found the first half of the book to be pretty slow, and it took me a while to get through it. It's not that I had to force myself to read it or anything like that, but it was just pretty easy to put it down if anything else came up, if that makes sense. Once I got to part 2, I pretty much binged through the entire thing in one night. Really just couldn't put it down once prom night started. I've only read one other Stephen King book, and that's Pet Sematary. So I'll mention that periodically throughout my review, as it's the only other reference point for Stephen King that I have. King has this looping, almost circular way of writing. He foreshadows a lot of what's going to happen in the book. He tells you how it's going to end pretty early on in the book, and then he goes back and shows you all the events that kind of led up to it. He does this at different scales. He'll tell you what's going to happen in a chapter or 2 chapters from now, and then he goes back and kind of lays out what led up to it. It worked really well for me, and he did something similar to this in Pet Sematary, and it worked for me there too. Some of the subject matter was pretty uncomfortable for me to read. Most of the characters are only 16 or 17 years old. He describes experiences with puberty, menstruation, and sexuality. It's not like the subject matter is abnormal or, taboo or whatever. It just feels like it's intrusive. King should obviously be able to write about whatever he wants to write about, but I just found it pretty uncomfortable at certain points in the book. That might be the reason he did it, to kind of push boundaries or make you uncomfortable as a reader. It's definitely something to think about, but yeah, some parts of the book were just kind of difficult to get through. I was able to read about some pretty disturbing stuff in Pet Sematary and not really bat an eye. And at the end of this book, while it's brutal and messed up, it left me with a different feeling than some of the other subject matter he approached in the first 2/3 of the book. I like the characters for the most part, and it's one of the highlights of the book for sure. Carrie's character is done well, and I found it pretty easy to empathize with, everything that she experiences and goes through. Some of what she endures is so brutal, it makes what happens at the end of the book a little more understandable. I found Margaret to be cartoonishly evil. She was just an insane religious zealot without much of a backstory. I think where the book shines is the secondary and tertiary characters. For such a short read, it feels like there are so many different named characters. It feels like every person in the story has a name and a relationship to someone else. Every store has an owner, every building has a name. Even if the interaction with Carrie is just a sentence or 2, the character feels like they matter. I don't know if there are more characters in this book than in other books, or if, in other stories, they just wouldn't name the character and it would just be like a nameless interaction with the shopkeeper or whatever. I think the town of Chamberlain is a character in and of itself, mainly because of the strong character work from King throughout the rest of the story. It makes it feel like a real town with real people going about their lives. It makes what happens at the end that much more tragic. It was so horrible and so many people died that even the town was mortally wounded. I think the book wrapped up well. I'm not sure if saying I enjoyed it is the right terminology, because it was pretty gnarly, but let's just say I was engrossed with the entire second half of the book and could not stop reading. It feels so unfair, and if people had just been a little nicer or things had just happened a little bit differently, it all could have been avoided. After wrapping it up, I had this weight in my gut that, it was supposed to be a happy ending, but things just went wrong in the story, and that's not how it turned out. All in all, I think Carrie was an okay read, and I'm excited to continue my journey through the works of Stephen King. I'm going to give the book 3 out of 5 stars. I think it wrapped up well. but the first half was a slog, and some of the subject matter was a bit of a challenge for me. Please let me know what you thought of Carrie down in the comments, and consider giving the video a like if you enjoyed the review. I'm thinking about checking out the movies as well, so if you have a recommendation on which one I should check out, let me know. I'd also appreciate any feedback you have on my reviews and what I could do to improve them going forward. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.